You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the...
Welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, the only wrestling podcast by fans who don't hate wrestling.
Alright everybody, it is Phoenix 2.5 FM. This is the Wrestling Rewind. Welcome back to our first show of 2022. That feels weird to say, but we'll get used to it, sure. My name is Darrow O'Connor, and I'm joined on the line by my co-host, Martin Harty. How are things, Martin?
What is the crack, Darrow? We're back, and we're back with a bang. Possibly, maybe the most ridiculous WCW pay-per-view. Certainly top 50.
You know how I knew we were in for like a bad time, or at least, well, I don't know, it wasn't bad. I was horribly entertained. The actual, the promotional poster with Buff Bagwell.
Oh,
I was like, wow, we are in for something here. All right.
I'll tell you what, Darrow, a promotional poster with Buff Bagwell is enough to make you miss a good old opener with the Cat and Disco Inferno.
Oh man, no Disco Inferno on the show, which was sad.
No
Or the
Disco,
Cat.
no Cat. There's a very marked difference. So we've taken a bit of a jump ahead here,
We have.
just to start the new year off with a bit of a, not so much a bang as a damn squib, but you know, just to change it up. But there's a very marked change from where we were in 1999
Yes.
to the depths of 2000.
It's a very different show. It's a very, very, very different show. Like, I don't know, we will get into it in graphic, grotesque detail. In this show.
Pornographic detail.
I did actually watch it like today because I want this extremely fresh in my mind. Because it is one of those shows that you're like, yeah, this is something all right. And look, I'm not gonna say I didn't enjoy it because I actually enjoyed a lot of it, but we'll get into it. But the promotional poster, folks, if you haven't seen it yet, it's basically Buff Bagwell doing his best Derek Zoolander impression. And it's something else, all right.
You know,
But here's the thing. This show,
say Jeff Jarrett broke 1,000 guitars, never sold a ticket. I don't know what they say about Buff Bagwell.
well, here's the thing. To put it into context, usually when we do these shows, I like to go to Wikipedia just to see what's there. And there's it's like one or two sentences usually about the show, right?
It happened.
Exactly, it happened, and here's the results. This show actually has a proper write-up. That's how infamous this show is. So it's as bad as they say it is, but it also isn't that bad in certain ways. But we will get to it after we cover a bit of news. Because like while we've been away, a lot of stuff has kind of happened. We did our best of year show with James Drew Penny, which will be up soon. Again, I still haven't got a computer. I'm waiting for the better part of 2 months for my computer situation to be resolved, and we're no closer to it being resolved, but no longer lives in
It's a good show though, folks. It's well worth waiting for.
It's a very good show, yeah.
It's even better coming like maybe towards the end of January, because New Year, you have this deluge of best movies, best matches, best whatever. So, you know, you'll a wee bit of a break, and we'll tell you our best of in late January.
But you know what is interesting though about it, because I was looking over the Pro Wrestling Illustrated best of picks. A lot of our picks are actually pretty on point.
Well, I think what they did was they heard the recording.
Yes, somehow.
They recognized that we're deeply influential people. You know, you're a red belt. I'm former Bard of Armagh. And they obviously took that on board.
And then they somehow hacked my computer
Well, even you would
Yeah.
admit that your current setup is not the most sophisticated.
Exactly. It's not the most secure in the world. It's not so yeah, exactly. So that's
Dara
what
is
they do.
currently recording everything on an Atari 64.
Exactly. Or two pigeons that run back and forward. And that's
Two
how it is.
pigeons with a copper coil between them.
Exactly. It's not the best one. Basically, guys, we need money, so please give us money. If you would, that'd be great. No, seriously, like it is really annoying that I still haven't got my computer fixed. Or not fixed, like I'm gonna buy a new one and it's not happening. So hopefully it'll be resolved soon. And that's the dip in audio quality recently, guys. If you're hearing it, I apologize. There's literally nothing I can do about it. Desktops eventually just give up. Mine just basically blew up, and I'm like, oh, there we
This
go.
is all being recorded on a gramophone, and then the gramophone is played to a tape player, and then the cassette is taken to a CD burner, and then the CD burner is flung into the Liffey.
This is like very close to reality. This is basically what I'm trying to do is kind of annoying. But look, we'll get there eventually. It's just bear with us. But no, with the actual, I actually managed to get all the shows that we did over Christmas, and they're all going to be going up relatively soon, and then we should be fine. But yeah, our picks are pretty good, and it's a great show. Great to have James on. Obviously, Dave was there in spirit as well, so his picks, and I think so it was good to have everybody kind of there, you know. But yeah, no, Dave, hopefully we'll be on the show a little bit more this year. We're going to try bully him.
We have plans to what would you say, emotionally blackmail Dave onto the next couple of shows.
Exactly, because we are getting into the Royal Rumble season, and obviously the Royal Rumble is an excuse for us to go back and look at really good Rumbles and also stuff that I want to watch from that time period. But also, we're going to watch the Rumble because even no matter how, like the WWE is probably the worst it's ever been, and we're still going to watch the Rumble. Yeah. But I don't know how they're going to do the Rumble. They haven't got anyone left.
Well, they're doing it by bringing in half of Impact.
Yeah, well, this is also another reason to watch the Rumble because Impact's great. Well,
I'll tell you what, I think, honest to God, it's maybe not the best, but it's certainly the gimmick match with the most longevity. It's the gimmick match that I don't mind, that I actually look forward to every year. Like when they made Hell in a Cell a yearly thing, turned me off.
That was the death of that whole concept.
Yeah. Even Money in the Bank is iffy. Extreme Rules, load of bollocks. But the Royal Rumble every year, that is a gimmick match. Well, in WWE's current state that I look forward to.
The thing about the Royal Rumble is, like, even though they did it in Saudi Arabia, the greatest Royal Rumble and stuff like that, it still didn't damage the concept. Battle Royals aren't that. It's just because it has that. It's that specific thing where it's used in such a way to set up the entire year. And also to
set up the run to WrestleMania, the entire year's a bit much. Well,
it kind of is because like the road to WrestleMania, and then there's the fallout from WrestleMania, and then by that's over, you're going into SummerSlam.
WrestleMania Backlash.
I hate that so much. I hate it so much.
And I'll tell you this now: the only reason that the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia didn't ruin the Royal Rumble was because Titus O'Neil coped and slipped under the ring.
But even still, like, you know, if they started doing the Rumble match randomly throughout the year, and I know people say that's what they did in Saudi Arabia. I'm like, listen, they give them so much money that I'm convinced, like, I'm shocked they haven't tried to dig up, you know, Andre the Giant yet and said, look, he's still there, stuff him, go.
Put the Big Show in a leotard.
Exactly. But look, it's great. It's always a good time. Sometimes the Rumble isn't great, but just the experience of it live is good. And you know, if stuff works as far as like if I can get my rig set up, we'll stream again live. But if not, we'll just do the show like normal. But we are going to try to get Dave. What,
here's what we're going to do.
Go on.
If Dara can get his computer up and running, what we will do is we will set up a ring and we will review the Royal Rumble while we try and throw each other out over the top rope of a wrestling ring.
Do you know anyone in a wrestling ring in near Dublin?
I know people who have an MMA cage, and it's slightly higher than a rope, but I'd say I could get you up.
It's fair. Actually, there is a new wrestling school that opened up in Dublin, so we actually could possibly do that. But
So
anyway,
what's that? You have OTT, Fight Factory, and
yeah, there's a new one that opened up there on Ossory Road. So that's up on the Docklands in Dublin. For anyone who knows what that is, it used to be a Russian wrestling school. Now it's a professional wrestling school. So
it used to be a Russian wrestling school.
yeah, because it's up where we practice with the band, and a lot of you just walk by and
What's Russian wrestling?
lots of burly Russian lads battering each other.
Is this
It
a
looked like
whole class of Walters and Eddie Kingstons? None of them who know it's not real.
no, I think it was Salat. So the Salat fighting style, and they'd literally it was like, yeah, don't go in there, it'll probably kill you. And now it's all of a sudden it just changed to like a professional wrestling school, and there's loads of like lads walking out going, I'm a wrestler, and you're like, all right, cool, fair enough.
You're gonna go, oh, are you? How many times have you put up the ring?
No, but I mean, like, they're a lot more like friendly than the Russian, mafia lads. It'd kill you. Like,
having
it's
done
a different vibe of the place. Different vibe of the place.
Having done it, I don't care if you can do a 450 splash, unless you know how to put the ring up. You're not a wrestler.
That's a fair point. I'll mention it to them next time I'm there. I'll be like, hey, who can put up the ring? But yeah, so I guess we could ask them. But no, so in all seriousness, like, it's our technical issues are not resolved. I thought they would be, but it's annoying.
But
Anyway.
you know what, Dara?
Yes.
We're not the only one with technical issues that are not resolved, because it is time for your weekly WWE is being sold, because they have released.
They have nobody left.
Another bunch of wrestlers.
They have nobody left. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, hold on a minute. I'll just adjust my microphone there professionally, like the professionals we are.
Dara has moved it 6 feet away because of how much he's about to shout. I'm
going to hit it. Look, nothing is going to convince me otherwise. They are getting ready to sell this, and it's more. Look, I think they're getting ready to fire Triple H.
Oh, well, the whole NXT purge was all his. It wasn't even
all
like
Triple H around. Like, everyone.
It wasn't even subtle. It was all his people.
It's just like, and then they're going to fire Shawn Michaels, which is wild. It's like, what are you doing?
I'm telling you, I hate WWE so much. Not like a tribal thing, but because of their business practices, because of the way they treat staff. But I have got to tell you, Vince McMahon firing Shawn Michaels, oh, that does something for me.
But here's the thing. I don't know. Is it because he's not the boy toy anymore? That he's just like, he does, is that why he's going to fire him now instead of...
Well, look,
being a jerk?
Like, an in-depth investigation needs to be done into the 1990s, in which Vince McMahon was firing everybody for looking at him wrong, but Shawn Michaels was engaging in the most abhorrent behavior.
This is what I mean. I'm like, you didn't fire him when he was being a horrendous person, but you're going to fire him now when he's not. It's a bit much. But
why?
Look, there obviously was something going on there. No shade, no shame, obviously, but like,
no shame.
There was something going on there.
Perfectly normal and natural and indeed beautiful to have a lover, and we should all be so lucky to have a lover. So fair play to Vince McMahon and Shawn Michaels.
But not when it's not when it's propping up horrible behavior, which is what it was, But I don't know. I feel bad for everyone who got. I feel bad for anyone who gets fired. To be fair,
I feel bad for William Regal. He didn't do anything wrong. He was awesome. He was awesome as a wrestler. He was awesome as a manager. I have no doubt that.
You know what he did wrong. He was on NXT and was there when Triple H was running it. That's what he did wrong.
But that's all of the firings. If you look at them all, it's Triple H, it's Road Dogg, it's bloody Timothy Thatcher.
You know, Road Dogg though, right? Road Dogg deserves this, and
Oh, he is an asshole.
he became one. It's like I didn't think he was, but he became one, and particularly his comments about certain people who releases like, dude, you have to really, you should really be careful what you're saying, and then a bit in the ass. It's like there you go, that's what you get, you know.
No, and I'm not making comment on any of their morality or character. I'm just saying that this was a Triple H purge.
It was, yeah, and I do think, like again, I think WWE is getting to streamlined to be sold to the highest bidder, but before that happens, I can see Triple H being let go.
I think
Genuinely.
Vince is about to fire Triple H as his daughter's wife. Stephanie won't even get a say in it. Vince is just going to fire Triple H as his son-in-law.
Look, I don't even think Stephanie has a say in anything. To be fair, dude, I don't think Vince has a say in this. I think this is your man Khan, not Tony Khan, the other Khan, the guy who's in WWE. Because he's stripping the place. He's basically pulling the copper wire out of the building. Like that's what he's doing. Like he's stripping it. He's stripping it. Like
joyless, soulless capitalist. He doesn't know what wrestling is.
No,
he doesn't know what entertainment is. He doesn't know what morality is.
Doesn't care. He is just stripping that. And I cannot remember his name. I know he's the other Khan that's in wrestling, and he is just stripping that place. Well, dude, on the one hand, you
don't have to censor that.
On the one hand, WWE is making more money than it ever has. It's more profitable than it ever is. It's making record profits. But when you see this now with the Rumble, like they have to go to Impact and be like, "Here, lads, who wants to fall around a little bit in the ring, you know, for a payday?" It's crazy, and I can see him forcing Triple H out, and that'll be it.
I think it just comes down to whatever type of person you are. If you ran a studio, would you rather make the best movies or make the most money? And it's not like, by the way, that the alternative, like the two questions are, would you rather make
mutually
the best
exclusive,
movies
yeah,
and be penniless? Like WWE could make the best wrestling and just make slightly less money, still billions, just slightly less. Or they can make the most money and have a dramatically inferior product.
But the product is atrocious. Like it is.
It's unwatchable.
It's genuinely unwatchable. Like there is not a money amount on the planet that would get me to watch wrestling.
It is
wrestling every week anymore. Can't do it.
Sheer nostalgia that is bringing us back to the Royal Rumble.
That's it, and the same with WrestleMania, and the same with
Mania.
Yeah, and then when you go to the Saudi show, because that kind of is WrestleMania too. But even still, like man, it's genuinely unwatchable. Like, and anyone who watches it now, you know what? I'm like, fair play, lads.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it. We have a great time doing this show because we watched stuff from 20 years ago, and it's a great time, even when it's bad, because you know it's still a great time. Just there's not one person on that roster who you're going, you know what, they're great. Well, Reigns is actually pretty good, but they've ruined all their characters to such an extent that you're like, what's the point, you know?
Well, the thing is, like, I don't watch it, so I don't really know, but I've never been a fan of Reigns, and
no, but the king of the table thing is pretty good, man.
Well, the few times I've watched that, he's been big into these bloody monologuing his way through matches, and this constant, like, you know, hitting a punch and then, hey, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do, you know, plotting out the storyline for you. But sure, look, like I say, I don't watch the product weekly. Maybe he's brilliant.
And Brock as well. Like,
what I will say is that
Brock is amazing, to be fair.
What I will say is that they have built Reigns up great. A lot of people are obviously very happy with him. Who the hell takes over?
Nobody.
Who are they building to topple Reigns?
Like, they have nobody out. Like, they have Face Brock, which is, to be fair, hilarious. Face Brock is just, he's like a different person. It's so weird to actually see him.
And how long is he going to be about for?
I don't know. Look, this is why I'm saying to you, man. And like a broken record, but I'll say it. WWE, to anybody looking ahead, they're building this up as a brand, the WWE brand, that they can just pop in whoever it is, faceless whoever, faceless male, faceless female, run it. People are going to watch it. and that's it. And I cannot see this being a separate company for very much longer. And the minute they get Triple H out, that's it. Now the plus side of that is Triple H goes over to AEW. I'll watch AEW then, and then they give him all the belts, and it'll be fine. They fire Cody, problem solved. Or he
Triple
goes to
H
Impact.
comes to AEW. He has to sit in the throne that Cody smashed.
Exactly. And then I'm all about it. I'll show up next week with an AEW shirt and everything. Oh man, no, but I do. That would be wild. Triple H starts his own company or goes to Impact or goes to AEW. Because look, to be fair, that's what would probably happen. It's just crazy. Like, no one's gonna sit here and tell me that they're not gonna sell WWE, because that's exactly what they're building towards. They're stripping it all the copper wire out of the building, making it as lean as possible, and that's it. It sucks, but
They are.
that's what's happening.
Look, I'm not as
wild.
confident as you are in the sale analysis, but I'm 100% with you in terms of stripping the copper wire out of the place. Like,
I just don't know why else you do it.
what have they?
I just
what
don't
have
know
they
why
got?
else you do it. Like, it doesn't make
They're
any
a wrestling company with no
Without
wrestlers.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like when you heard in America that they ran out of chicken at KFC. It's like, you're KFC, you sell chicken.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do?
They took their hottest brand
Yeah, and killed it.
and took it out behind the Titan Towers and shot it.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't AEW didn't kill NXT. NXT could have happily gone on for the next 10 years on Tuesdays. It was WWE killed NXT.
If WWE had just got rid of SmackDown or Raw and put NXT on that time, that would have been it. Would have been fine. Probably would have actually continued on. The only reason why they lost against AEW is because AEW is legitimately the hottest wrestling show in the world.
100%. And look, this week's
And that's
episode wasn't even particularly. I enjoyed it, but like, it hasn't gotten.
It doesn't have to be amazing. It's just good.
Yeah.
As I said, I wouldn't consider myself an AEW fan as long as Cody Rhodes is there.
Well, you've been
As
saying
long as-
that, but
As long as Cody Rhodes is there.
I think you're in the closet.
No, as long as Cody Rhodes is there, I just can't do it. They need to fire Cody Rhodes.
I bet you
And
if you took that top off, we'd see all of these.
The big horrible tattoo. The big horrible that's the worst tattoo in the history of the world. I don't know who said that was a good idea. What are you doing? Oh man, he's such a flute. Anyway, let's get on to what was a wonderful show. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna hop back in our time machine, and I'm very excited to do so. Because it's a wonderful show. It's a wonderful show. So we're going back to May 7th, 2000. 22 years ago. We're getting very old. Martin, we're getting very old. And this was from...
Think for yourself.
Well, I remember this show, so, and I remember vividly as well, which is the worst part.
But you
Kansas
had Sky TV then, because
I did have Sky TV then,
the only thing I remember this show, but I only remember it from the pictures of Canyon being hoofed off the cell in WCW magazine, and it is literally only last week when I watched it. That's the first time I got to actually see this show live.
No
Well, not
way.
live, but you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, no, like in moving. You got to see the show moving.
Not live 20 years later.
Live to you, pre-taped to everybody else. But yeah, this is from the Kemper Arena in Kansas City, Missouri, and it's only been on the W Network since 2014, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
Well,
Right.
part of the reason might be that there is a certain level of controversy around this show.
For a bunch of reasons, actually.
Yeah, so I think the main one is that towards the end of the show, there's a stunt in which one wrestler is thrown off a pretty high structure, and this is the first wrestling match or the first wrestling show that the Kemper Arena had since the tragic death of Owen Hart.
Really? It's the same arena, is it?
It's the exact same arena. Owen Hart fell from that roof into that ring and died. And they didn't host a wrestling show for 2 years. And the first show they did host was Slamboree. And the first thing WCW did was throw someone off the top of a 3-tiered cage.
Wow, okay. probably not the best look WCW, but they had bigger problems than that. And it was,
Oh, yeah.
And that is not saying to be insensitive. That is
No,
saying
no.
this show was a train wreck.
Well,
And
this show.
I don't even think they knew they were going to do that on the show, because this show had no plan. It was a train wreck from
Well, this show.
start to finish.
The only good thing about this show, this train wreck, as you accurately describe it, being in the Kemper Arena, is that the Kemper Arena is a 19,000-seater arena, but they only managed to get 6,000 people into it.
And I don't think they were paid. I don't think they paid. I think that was papered. I haven't looked that up. That is a random wild speculation, but I think it's an accurate one. Okay, right. So
how many? Tell you what, take a guess. Pay-per-view buys.
Pay-per-view buys. I don't have numbers in front of me.
John, take a while you guess.
Probably 180,000.
65.
No, what?
65.
Oh man, I thought he would have got at least 80,000.
I thought Slamboree was like maybe not an A pay-per-view, but definitely like a B plus. Think about
it. They had, the big gimmick of the Triple Cage match. They were doing the big New Blood Rising kind of thing. A lot of this
David Arquette.
A lot of this show was kind of paying off storylines that they were building. So that really shocks me. But then again, when you're watching the show, you know what, right? So straight away, you know what they really needed? They really would have benefited from it. The show starts, right? And it's these like flashbacks. It's no context flashbacks to like last week on Nitro, last week on, and you're like, okay. And it's just random flashbacks to set up. They should have had like a video package where someone the WWE video packages that they had at the exact same time.
Yeah.
They should have just done that where they told you the storylines. Instead, it's like random clips from Nitro and Thunder to be like, we have this and that. And you're like, what is going on? Why are you? There's no one explaining any of this.
Maybe I've also been spoiled by AEW has the one pay-per-view every 3 months. And whenever they build to something, it's a genuine build.
Yeah.
So whenever they do like flashbacks of how the story built on Dynamite, it's like this happened in January, and then these two guys killed each other in February, and then whatever happened in March, and now we're at Revolution. Whereas with pay-per-views at the time, both WCW and WWF, they were running like 14, 15 pay-per-views a year. So they were going, and the build to this pay-per-view took place
last week.
2 weeks ago.
No, in this case, it was 2 days ago.
Exactly.
They built the whole show in 2 days, and it's just like,
but not in a good CM Punk Eddie Kingston way.
No, it was like random brawls that weren't brawls, and then Eric Bischoff holding the bat, and you're like, okay, this is a bit much. But look, so that was how the show started, and I'm like, oh boy, we're in for something.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dara. As soon as the show started, we knew we were in for something.
Because we saw Sonny.
Worse. Before we even...
I can't believe we saw Sonny. I was like, oh my God, that's Sonny.
around about the same time as we saw Sonny. So I can't remember. Who is the announcer you love?
Other than Tony Schiavone?
Yes.
Okay, so Tony Schiavone was there, but they had Mike Tenay in the back.
Mike Tenay backstage, yeah. So instead of having him on they had someone else.
Scott Hudson and Mark Baden.
They had Scott Hudson.
He's terrible. He so terrible.
Said as Chris Candido came out with
Tammy.
Tammy? No.
Oh, yeah, Chris Candido. Yeah, Tanny and Sonny, the same person.
And his opponent came out with
Paisley.
That's a tough one to reconcile when you're.
It is, yeah. It is. I can imagine. When I heard it, I was like, "Aaron's not gonna like that."
Never. But as they came out, he said, "This is what WCW is all about: hot action and hot tramps."
Yep.
And I was like, well, if that isn't 2000 WCW summed up in a sentence.
But Tony Schiavone was like, I disagree with your choice. No, Tony Schiavone and Mark Madden were like, I disagree with your choice of
Because
words.
Tony Schiavone is a reasonable, rational human.
It was so awkward and horrible. It was like, you're referring to women that way. What is wrong with you?
It was such a blatant attempt to
be Jerry the King Lawler.
to hold on to the Attitude Era. It was so
like, look,
it was so forced.
And you know what was bad, right? We've talked about this on WCW. They don't do that. That's what WWE did. That was Jerry the King Lawler. When I'm still convinced he's not cancelled. Like, come on, Twitter. There you go for it. You know.
but what are you doing? Tell me, Dara, what's the difference between this WCW show and the WCW shows we've been watching
Vince
previously?
Russo.
There we go, comrade. There we go.
Very good. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That makes sense. Okay, maybe don't go after Jerry the King Lawler. Vince Russo, though, probably should, yeah.
I mean, go after Jerry anyway.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know how he survives. The minute Twitter watch all that Attitude Era, man, they're going to lose their collective minds. It's the hive mind just explodes. What happened? Oh, they finally discovered WWE in the 90s.
Here's what I will say about risque or attitude wrestling. If you're gonna do attitude wrestling, do attitude wrestling.
Yeah.
Don't half do it. So Tammy Sitch, Sunny came out in her robe, and then she's like, "This is the show me state, so I'm going to show you." And she took her robe off, and she was wearing like,
a dress.
It wasn't like it wasn't anything you wouldn't see a girl on a average night out in a nightclub wearing, right?
Literally, yeah, it was just like a silver nightclub dress.
She had underneath it, but she had underneath it these granny panties and a sports bra. Like, you could see the underwear coming up underneath the actual clothing, right? That's fair enough. I mean, I would want to be comfortable, but the whole point of this match was that at the end of it, the artist and Paisley tore Sunny's clothes off, and then Sunny was like, "Oh!" and covered herself up, even though the underwear was covering the exact same amount of flesh that the clothes had been covering. So just kayfabe, it just didn't make sense to me.
It was not a good match either. The match was, and I know, Chris Candido actually was pretty good. I liked the gimmick that he had. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought actually his pairing with Sunny was actually quite inspired. The artist is not good. And there were no really good spots in this match. The match itself was, you know what it was? You're right. It was a Vince Russo booked match, and you could feel that was a Vince Russo booked match because there was no storytelling in it. They went for the cheap, and I mean cheap, heat moments, and then obviously doing what they did with Sunny and Paisley. It was like,
but here's the thing, Dara.
I've seen this, yeah.
Me and you are used to watching even just the dregs of the worst that WCW has to offer, but it has always had a banging opener from the cruiserweights.
Yeah, and this wasn't
always. And this was a cruiserweight opener between two guys who are not. Chris Candido was not. I am more of a cruiserweight than Chris Candido, he said, with his belly balancing on his knees. You know, like.
Well, look, we've went from seeing Billy Kidman and Eddie Guerrero tear it up
to this,
and it's like Billy Kidman's on the show and he's wrestling Hulk Hogan in probably one of the worst matches in human history.
God, we'll get to that.
And it's like, Billy, go back. Go back and save the Cruiserweight division. What are you doing? Oh, man. But look, so that was the opener. And it left a bad taste in my mouth because I'm like, this is... it took me a while to get over the Scott Hudson call. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, this is horrendous.
Grotesque, wasn't it?
Oh, it was it was so, like, look, we're not prudes and we're not, you know...
I'm a big, boorish, ignorant frigger.
But I mean, like, it just came out of nowhere, and it was so completely unnecessary. And it's like, this is disgusting way to talk about women.
It's like,
you know,
it
really
one thing
is horrible.
JR says, like, when the bunny is being a heel and she sneaks around and she punches like Chris Statlander in
Tor-
the face,
but
and
Tori-
JR goes, "She's a goddamn harlot."
Or Jezebel, you know, with
Or
Tori Wilson
Jezebel,
with Kane and stuff like that. It fit
There's
in
a
'cause she was
difference between
genuine.
that
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hot tramps.
Yeah. it's it's just horrible, like grotesque and vile, you know, it really is. But anyway, I enjoyed the next 10 minutes, I'm not gonna lie. And I know I shouldn't. And I know it wasn't a good thing, but I enjoyed it.
Well,
So
I'm telling you, I miss Dave all the time, but I certainly miss Dave now. I would love to have Dave's take on this, because
Dave would have loved
exactly
this.
his type of nonsense.
This is Dave all over. Like, so it opens with Terry Funk going to the Jacks, looking for Norman, and he screams, "I'm gonna get you! You stop your passing them around!" And there's some lad standing in the Jacks, and it's not Norman Smiley. And Norman Smiley,
He's got a motorcycle helmet.
He has a motorcycle helmet on. And then Norman Smiley hits him with a fire extinguisher and starts spraying him with the fire extinguisher, and they fall out of the bathroom. And then it's a backstage brawl, and we find out it's for the WCW Hardcore Championship, which didn't exist a year ago, but does now. And now it's like, oh wait, did it? No, it did exist, didn't it? But no, it didn't exist. But he had hardcore matches, and then he made it a division. That is true. So
they created it as a direct
reaction,
a direct copy of the WWF Hardcore title. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it has the lineage. I think it only was it was in 19. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was only created in like
mid 1999. So that makes sense. Yeah.
If even mid 99. Yeah.
Yeah, July 11th.
There you go.
So it doesn't even have like the lineage of the good matches that we talked about with Hack and stuff like that. It was literally, I think Norman Smiley was the first guy to hold it, which says everything about your belt. If Norman Smiley is the first guy holding your belt, you probably don't need a belt. And
it's mad now when we think back on those, like, genuinely
halcyon days of great
those genuinely murderous matches between like Hack and Brian Knobbs, and they're like 4-0.
That's it. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, so Hack and Bam Bam Bigelow nearly killed each other.
Yeah.
Every month.
When we were watching them, I just assumed there was a hardcore title somewhere in the.
And that's what I was thinking too. That's why I went back to check. I'm like, no, they just did it. So
they're just doing it because they hate bins.
So Bam Bam Bigelow drove Hack through a legit fence for no reason. It was just because they hated each other. Okay, and then we have this match, which is supposed to be for the hardcore belt, and the only person that got beaten up a lot was Terry Funk. Terry Funk got this nasty gash on the side of his face, and I don't know where he got it from, but the other two looked fine. It was like,
and he did not deserve it for this fiasco.
Oh, it was a train wreck, and it wasn't even like a fun backstage brawl. Like, you can book backstage brawls, and the one I would always point to would be Road Dogg doing commentary for Big Boss Man and Al Snow, which happened in SummerSlam.
Give me Terry Funk and Norman Smiley all day long in a backstage brawl lasting 3 minutes, and let them take those 3 minutes and smash the place up. Like, so this was actually a great brawl. If it had been condensed into 3 minutes, it was the fact that it was 15 minutes long made it unbearable.
And he had, and it wasn't to get, like, the brawl itself was to get Ralphus. So Ralphus came back.
Yeah,
and it was to get Ralphus over. When it got into the ring, actually, it kind of picked up a little bit. It got a little bit better.
Do you want your hardcore title matches ending in a roll-up?
No, I don't. But I thought it was the only point where it became a match, and they did stuff that wasn't just kick, punch, hit, kick, punch, hit.
Here's what upset me about it was that the anarchy of backstage was better choreographed than the stuff in the ring. So they were falling over, like Norman Smiley got thrown into a bunch of scaffolding, and the scaffolding fell over, and like a lot of these spots were great if they had just been spots in a 3-minute match.
Yeah, it didn't need to be 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
And then they got out into the ring, and it was just botch in the ring. And the worst thing is, it wasn't even Ralphus botching. It was Terry Funk and Norman Smiley botching.
I don't think they planned this match out at all. And you can kind of tell that
Do you think Terry went, call it in the ring, brother?
I think both of them were like, we're gonna have a bunch of drinks and then we're gonna go out and do this, and then we're gonna have more drinks, and that's what happened. Uh, because
That's why Terry never retired.
no, I look, I love Terry Funk. He is one of the all-time greats, but
Oh,
he should not have been your guy holding up the hardcore division in WCW.
Or if
in
he was
2000.
going to be your guy holding up the hardcore division, WCW, make it different from the WWF hardcore
Yeah,
division.
it was a
Don't
poor
make it a
imitation.
bloody comedy thing.
Yeah.
Make it a murder, plunder, like all Japan exploding ring, friggin' death brawl.
But they couldn't do that. They couldn't
Well,
do that
then don't do it.
because of standards and practices, which is not only the group, it's actually
Yeah.
WCW ran into this problem.
You
But
can't
look-
have an exploding ring, but you can have hot tramps.
Says it all, really, doesn't it? Oh man, that's Scott Hudson. You should feel bad, like legitimately. You should have said no. Don't say these things. Like that's now the worst call I've ever heard. And up until this point,
Yeah.
Gary the King had all of them. Oh, anyway,
I'm genuinely trying to think. I'm trying to think of a worst call.
there isn't.
Like
one. There
I'll
isn't. one.
I'll have a think. I'll have a think between now and next week's show. But off the top of my head, that genuinely just took me aback.
It took me about legitimately 25 minutes to get over it because I was still in shock by the whole thing. I'm like, did that actually happen? Or, you know, it was just, guys, if you haven't seen it, we're not making a big thing out of it. Go back, watch it. It just comes out of nowhere.
It's the most
It's the most-
casual but violent misogyny I've ever seen. It's
Ever.
unbelievable.
ever. And even even 20 years ago, it's still like, the fact that Shivani stops the show pretty much, and Mark Matt, and they both kind of stop, and you can tell they're just stop and look at him, and they're like, "What are you saying? What are you doing?"
It's the fact that it was so casual
Yeah,
that makes it so awful.
Oh,
If it
man.
had been like really vitriolic, you could just dismiss it as like, oh, he's just a mad misogynist. But it was the fact that it was so casual.
so
Which
casual.
is just like,
So
this is
horrible.
This is just what
So-
WCW was like at the time. Oh my god, it's awful.
It is. It's probably one of the most horrendous things I've ever heard. I'll be honest with you. Like, at least to the King, you're like, you know he's gonna say something, and you know it's gonna be bad, but it's never that bad.
Yeah.
This was just so as you
the
said,
king is the
Yeah.
king is a horny toddler.
yeah, literally, yeah.
Puppies, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But this
was like-
an aggressive creep.
Yeah, it's like this guy needs to be on a list, like, you know. It's like,
You know?
I don't know if Scott Hudson's like that, but you know, dude, seriously, like,
But you know what?
Okay, like,
It's like if you have a bowl full of Smarties and 10 of them are poisoned, you wouldn't take a handful out of the bowl. I don't know if Scott Hudson's a creep. I would not take the chance.
no. Fair play to Mark Madden though, and Tony Giovanni for being like, no, like, what are you doing?
No,
But no, it did, and it stuck with me so much that as I was watching, it only kind of like, it only wore off when Hugh Morris, or we'll get to what he calls himself in a
oh
second.
my god.
And I'm like, oh my god, this is also completely random and horrendous. So look, we'll talk about the next match. Meet Sean Stasiak against Kurt Hennig. And right, so Sean Stasiak, aka Meat, totally forgot Meat was on the show. Meat was his name in WWE before Kurt Angle basically retired him from WWE at Survivor Series 99, and then he disappeared. He went back to WCW, and this feud. So look, for anyone who doesn't know, so there was the New Blood Rising versus what did he call the Billionaires Club?
The
What's it?
millionaires. This is what just the New Blood Rising, the young up and coming guys, the Millionaires Club,
Yeah.
the old fellas who wouldn't move on. And the Millionaires Club were the faces, and
Yeah.
the New Blood were the heels.
Yeah.
What in the name of God?
Yeah. So basically, the plot here was that, as Martin said, the millionaire clubs were like your Sting, your Hulk Hogan, your Ric Flairs. They were like wanted their spot basically, and then they had like their equals or their like copies or whatever. So Vampiro was Sting's copy. Ric Flair was fighting Shane Douglas. For
So
some
the-
reason,
the-
this kind of thing.
the Millionaires Club was the hot action, and the New Blood was the hot tramps.
Literally, that's kind of what by their own definition. That was what they were doing. And man, yeah, it permeated the whole show, permeated the whole company at this point. So Kurt Hennig was coming out, and he was like, obviously Mr. Perfect, still doing his Mr. Perfect gimmick, and John Stasiak was also doing Mr. Perfect gimmick.
Yeah, this match made me sad.
This match was very upsetting. Kurt Hennig was way past his prime. And also he probably was in some serious personal issues at this point. Obviously, he'd come back and do the whole Mr. Perfect thing again in WDB for a while. Had some pretty good matches.
And that was awesome.
It was awesome.
But this match made me really sad.
You know,
because I love Kurt Hennig so much. I mean, Kurt Hennig.
I really like the NWO stuff too.
Oh, Kurt Hennig to me is
like
he is one step down from Bret Hart. He's down. He is. It goes Bret Hart, and then you have like Hennig, Benoit, Guerrero. You know,
even when he was bad, when the product was bad, he was good.
Yeah,
and it speaks volumes that this was so effing poor.
Do you know what? I think this is something that was endemic on this night. I think everybody in WCW knew that it was heading towards the end, because a lot of people who are normally good were not good.
No.
And I don't know if Kurt Hennig wasn't good just because he was injured, or just because the same as Ric Flair, or the same as a lot of guys in the show, he just stopped caring.
The show, it didn't feel... Here's the upsetting thing about being a WCW fan. This is what people think WCW was, and it wasn't. This is what WCW became under Vince Russo.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's genuinely terrible. Like, the wrestling in a Vince Russo book show is never why you watch a Vince Russo show, but it's why you watch WCW. And they had taken this out and replaced it with... Look, Sean Stasiak is not a good wrestler. He never was. Kurt Angle.
And to give him a good perfect gimmick is bloody insult.
Oh, it's crazy. But look, this match was 8 minutes that I was sad the entire time watching. And then Sean Stasiak won.
Well, I tell you what, I have several notes for all the matches. For this match, I'm going to read it out to you exactly. For this match, all I have is Sean Stasiak versus Kurt Hennig. And then I have nice to see Kurt not hating rappers anymore. And then I stroked that out, because I would rather back when he was hating rappers. So, that's God, fair. This made me sad.
Scott Steiner defeated the new Captain Hugh.
Thanks for moving on swiftly.
G-Rection. So this started with a promo where
yeah. Come on, Dara. Tell the people. Where Hugh Morris... Tell the people about your huge erection.
So Hugh Morris came out and said that this was a gimmick given to him by Eric Bischoff, and he wanted to use his real name. His real name was Hugh G-Rection. Yeah. Yes, well done, Bill DeMott, you classless individual. For many reasons.
Imagine a whole match, a whole feud, a whole promo built around a 14-year-old's pun.
Now, here's the thing. I used to give him the benefit of the doubt with this, and then what came out, and it's like, he probably came up with this. So, it's like, okay. Build him up. I can't believe you had a job with WWE for as long as you did. I'll be honest with you. The warning signs were there, and this was one of them. So, Scott Steiner at least beat him. And Scott Steiner, look, this is my favorite Scott Steiner, where he is the genetic freak, and he just carrying the whole company on his back.
He is, but again, man, this was just another match where nobody gave a shit. He spent half the match outside the ring, jaw-jacking with the crowd. And I mean, like, it's genuinely fun when, Big Papa Pump does that, because he's really good at appearing to be genuinely angry. But it's when he intersperses it throughout the match. Half this match was just him walking around the ring.
He didn't have anything to work with, man.
No.
The DeMott is not a good wrestler. He never was.
No. No, there was an impressive tombstone reversal.
That was pretty good.
I was impressive.
That was pretty good. Like I did, but like,
and I thought the moonsault was pretty good. And I thought that was a particularly dangerous move for a man with a huge erection. Yeah.
But no, I mean, like with Steiner, even when it's bad, he can still make it good. But the worrying side, it was the same problem with Hennig. It was like he's in there trying to work a match with someone who is not as competent as he is.
Yeah,
and there's and he doesn't care. Now, to be fair, the US belt is made for Scott Steiner. He just looks great with it. And the US belt is one of the most attractive belts in wrestling, in my opinion.
It's actually a genuine.
Really, genuinely looks like has prestige. Prestige.
Not to pull us off course, but my God, hasn't the WWE done a terrible disservice to the prestige of its
all the belts, everyone?
Do you remember like when Brett and Mr. Perfect fought for the Intercontinental title, and it was like the Intercontinental title was it was almost like more prestigious than the world title
because it was the workhorse belt,
yeah, and now it's just
a joke.
Prop.
Joke. Well, look, and people say that belts are props, but I'm like, to an extent, but it's also like the prop has to mean something. Like, Captain America, for example, Captain America's shield is a prop, but it also means something. That's the whole point. That's why people want it. It's like, why else would it? So I don't buy the argument.
A belt is only a prop if you let it be. Right? The AEW World Title is not a prop because nobody has let it be. Because Jericho did a hell of a job. Mox did a hell of a job. Omega did a hell of a job. And now Hangman is doing a hell of a job.
Well, here's Martin, we identified this earlier on, right? We were talking about the WCW hardcore division, right? And that we went through some genuinely great matches. And that was for nothing. And then he put a belt in it and it's literally a prop. It means nothing.
Nothing.
It means nothing. Like, they didn't need it. And that's how you can identify someone as a prop. Like, in WWE, to use your salient point, like, most of those belts don't have any value because if you take them away, what's the point? Like, compared to AEW, where all the belts actually mean something, it's crazy.
And I don't say that just because I'm obviously an AEW fan, but part of the reason I'm an AEW fan is because WWE doesn't feel like it has any consequences because the belts don't mean anything.
Yeah, nothing means anything.
I get far more excited over a TNT title match than a Universal. Like, what the feck?
What's that even mean? Yeah, what's that even mean? Like, it's there's no consequence, no one's gonna care, But it's a shame because the US. It's not
sorry to drag us off course.
The US belt it looks great. Scott Steiner was brilliant.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It really is. No, it genuinely is a beautiful belt, and they should have kept that design for longer. But look, it is what it is.
What do you and again, not to drag us off course, but in terms of belts, are you a fan more of keeping the belt's lineage by keeping the original design, or do you favor like changing it every so often to? Not
always. Like, I do think certain ones should be changed. So, example, I love the 1999 IEC belt. I hate the vintage one. I really genuinely hate it.
The vintage Intercontinental.
Yeah.
Wait, no. What do you mean by vintage? Are you talking about like way back in the 80s?
No, I the one
gorgeous 90s one that everyone loves.
Yeah, I don't like that one. I like the tenor one. I just like it. It's nice. The reason why
Dara, I think you're a hot tramp.
No, the only reason why I like it is because I was a big fan of the Eurocontinental run, and I thought that was really cool, and it just stuck with me. I'm like, actually, that belt just looks deadly, But
they could have actually made a genuinely decent title out of Eurocontinental.
Yeah, because it made more sense. But the European belt was great as well, just as a gimmick. But the belt actually looked deadly as well. I got the original Unified the Undisputed Championship was deadly. Isn't
it mad that they have this litany of beautiful belts and now they have these gaudy W's?
Yeah, like, I understand why. Again, it goes back to what I'm saying. They don't want anything looking any way different because they just want
the brand.
WWE brand, and that's it. And anything that isn't WWE brand, they want to carefully remove and replace so they can just random male, random female. And that's it. Random
What-
female gets belt, random male gets same belt.
What to you is the nicest belt at the moment?
Well, I actually really like the Impact belt, the World
Yeah.
belt and the Impact. So it's deadly. It's really nice looking. And to be fair, they had some horrendous belts for so long, but they actually kind of got their act together. The AEW belt's pretty nice, to be fair.
It is.
The world title, but it's not a big pool anymore because there aren't that
I'll
many.
tell you what,
you know?
man, I think on par, and I know you didn't like it, but I think on par with the old Intercontinental title, I think the AEW tag team titles are just
Yeah,
gorgeous.
they are really nice.
I
Actually,
think they're my favorite belt.
the women's titles as well actually are pretty good in both Impact and AEW.
Yeah. The TBS title's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's great. Like,
Great. I think the TBS title's actually nicer than the women's belt.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I think
okay.
so. I think the women's belt they originally made very small because it was for Riho.
Riho, yeah.
And then Nyla Rose won it, and
And you
Nyla
had
Rose
to-
is obviously 4 times the size of Riho, so it looked like a watch on her.
Yeah. It's like the Brock Lesnar thing, you know, with the Universal, the undisputed belt looked deadly on Brock Lesnar, but didn't look so good on Hogan. You know, it's that kind of thing. You know, like I understand the changing up for characters as well. It's pretty cool to do it that way, but all that's gone, all that kind of fun and spontaneity, and it's sad, you know. But you really did see it in Impact, not an Impact, in WCW here as well, where they were changing stuff out. Even the hardcore belt they had was pretty cool, but it didn't have the charm of the WWE belt, which I think is one of the best belt designs ever. Like,
oh my god,
I love the hardcore belt, genuinely do.
And as much, and you know how many problems I have with WWE. To this day, my heart and soul belongs to the Winged Eagle.
Well, look, I respect that as well. My favorite world championship is the one that Austin carried around. The not the Smoking Skull, the actual that one that he traded with the Rock.
The one after the Winged Eagle.
Yeah, I love that belt so much. It's my favorite belt of all time.
It was still, it was a globe with,
but also it's the one that Triple H held for the first time.
Ugh.
And I'm just like, oh, love it so much. Brilliant.
Triple
H hitting sledgehammers with everybody. It's great. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. If you want the full show, there's 2 ways you're going to be able to get it. Join us live, 11:30 p.m., 6:30 p.m. Eastern, over on the Wrestling Rewind YouTube channel. TheWrestlingRewind.com will get you there, and you can join the chat and join in on the fun. Also, if you want, you can check us out on the podcast. The podcast can be got from our channel, Nerd to Know Media. You can subscribe there, or you can go to the Two Penny channel, or the Two Penny Show channel, and you'll be able to get it there for free, no cost to you, and there's a whole bunch of content there as well. But thank you for checking us out here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, the Wrestling Rewind. We'll see you next
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.
Do you have nothing else to do on a Saturday? Do you like nerd things? Now check out Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then head over to nerdtoknowmedia.com for all of our shows as part of the Nerd to Know Media Radio Network. Alright, Martin. So the next match that we have is, oh god, this is disappointing because it's Mike Awesome and Chris Kanyon, who are two of the best wrestlers of their time period that weren't, in hindsight, they're just incredible. And at this time, and their influence is obviously amazing. Mike Awesome.
And even though this match isn't great, there are
elements,
genuine flashes of this.
Yeah. Like
what really got me was, though, before this match started, there was like a package, like a video package with Awesome and Canyon and Hogan.
Yes.
And Mike Awesome had put Hogan through 2 tables, and mother of God, I have never seen a man who didn't want to go through a table as much as Hogan.
Yeah, Hogan wasn't a fan of taking bumps.
He sandbags awesome, and it's
Yeah.
genuine. It's a genuine testament to Mike Awesome's strength that he's able to powerbomb a guy like Hogan who is sandbagging him.
And been fought every step of the way as well. Like
he fights him every step of the way, and then even when he's going down, he won't take a clean bump. He's putting the arms out. Oh God, it's so hard to watch.
Yeah,
and I'm watching this, and I'm so annoyed with how bloody shite Hogan is. And then he comes out a couple of matches later, and he's the biggest thing in the world. He's the hottest reaction the crowd get. I just don't understand people in 2000.
I don't understand it either. Like, it's, to be fair, the internet wasn't a thing as much then, and there wasn't so much. You know, I think he was still had some kind of juice left in the bank. You know, and he did position himself as well near the top of the card for some reason, but you know, it was at the detriment of everyone else. And Mike Awesome and Canyon, they should have had a much better match than here. They had, as you said, flashes, elements. It went to a no contest. There was, and it wasn't even a good no contest as well. It was just,
it was a dreadful ending. It
was Nash runs out, and then there's a massive big smiles of people trying to help Nash. It was like, what's the point of this? Like, what? What did it do?
Was Nash the booker at the time?
No, Nash. I think Nash was the booker after this.
Okay, because
this
whole pay-per-view,
just before
this whole pay-per-view was just Nash walking out looking like the absolute tits. Like every time something happened, Nash would walk out and everyone would run. Like it happened like 2 or 3 times during the whole pay-per-view, and it made me think maybe this was back when he was the booker. But
no, he was he was booking it around the time that Mysterio lost his mask.
Ah,
yeah,
quelle surprise.
So this was this time period was Vince Russo and Bischoff trying to work together.
Yeah. The thing that got me was it wasn't even it was a no contest. It wasn't even a DQ, even though he clearly came out and hit Mike Awesome.
Yeah, it was just, the match was just thrown out. Like it was just like, okay, surely Chris Kanyon should have been disqualified. But
this is something that has been a feature of WCW ever since we started reviewing it, and it was more apparent in this show than I've ever seen, because from match number 1, every single match had either multiple ball shots or multiple shots with weapons right in front of the referee.
Yeah.
And he just didn't.
Yeah.
He's a prop.
Yeah. Like literally, like it's not like in WCW or in Impact. No, sorry, not like ECW or Impact where, you know, it was the rules are looser.
Yeah.
He's just there to count the pinfall.
Exactly.
And that's it. And some not even do that sometimes. just to be because it's what you see in wrestling is a referee in the ring, you know.
Yeah. And then, like, the thing is that it's not like I'm a stickler for the rules because I'm some sort of cornet.
No, but like, you expect it. You expect it, like, you know.
There is no drama without the rules. There's no drama without the rules. There's no heels to break the rules. Without the rules, there's no kickouts.
No,
you know, to be like last minute drama. Like without the rules, the whole thing just becomes fucking 2000 WCW.
It's so silly. It's so silly, and that's what I'd say. Like, you know, it's a shame because these guys had the potential to steal, and I don't use the term lightly. They had the term to steal the show.
Man, Mike Awesome, Canyon,
yeah. And you know what? If this was done now in AEW, well, it kind of is actually, because a lot of lads steal from both these guys or take influence from both these guys and have these phenomenal matches. And it's just upsetting, you know. And it was 12 minutes where nothing was achieved.
Absolutely nothing. In fact, it was 12 minutes where rather than nothing being achieved, it anti-achieved. It made you think less of Awesome.
Yeah,
it made you think less of Canyon.
That's a very good point too.
It made Nash the hero of the piece.
Yeah, for some reason. For some reason. But yeah, then look, and the next match was bizarre because it featured the whole package. Oh, obviously Lex Luger, with Elizabeth and the poster boy of the show, Buff Bagwell. In a 9-minute match that
That's why everyone was there.
That's why everybody was there. Exactly.
That's why all 6,000 people were there in that 18,000 seater arena.
They were there to see Buff the stuff, and the girls can't get enough. And it was a match. It happened. I wish it didn't. And I was just like, oh god, we're really in the dregs here. And the match itself, look, it didn't start well. Elizabeth attacked Vince Russo backstage. And then hit Bagwell with the bat. That's how Luger won, with a torture rack. And then Chuck Palumbo came out for some reason.
You're Luger. You are like an absolute incredible human specimen, and you need interference to beat
random interference.
Oh, it's just.
And as I said, look, some video packages, like a lot, pretty much the whole team of this night was the New Blood Rising versus the Old Guard, right? Video packages would have really been good here, just to because again, there was no right build up to them, but there kind of was at the same time, and the commentary team was so weak, and it wasn't their fault. Well, it probably was. Scott Hudson's fault. I'm just gonna blame Scott Hudson. It probably was his fault, but
and
yeah,
the thing
it was just horrible.
The thing with the Blood Rising thing was like you say, because it didn't have any particular storyline, you were just kind of left
fill in the gaps.
Left to kind of guess who was a millionaire and who was New Blood Rising.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the problem I had the whole night. Yeah.
At first, maybe at first that seems obvious. Like Ric Flair's Millionaires Club, Billy Kidman is New Blood Rising. But then you have Big Papa Pump, who had his first professional match in 1984. He's suddenly New Blood Rising. You go, what? What are the parameters here? What is the,
obviously he wasn't a millionaire. He was slumming it outside. He was slumming it in the hotel room when they're living in the high life,
I would believe that.
So would I actually. It's more legit. It's like, yeah, fair enough. Okay.
You need to get to the next match because
stop, it gets so much worse. It gets so much worse.
The absolute the depth. The depth.
So we had the return of our favourite guy as well. We had the return of him. He was back looking more lost than ever. Oh my god.
When you thought his cheeks couldn't get redder.
Oh wow. To be fair, he didn't look like he was going to a Metallica concert this time.
No, he looked like he was going to an Avril Lavigne concert.
Yeah, he looked so much worse. Oh man. All right. So Shane Douglas defeated Ric Flair. Prior to the match, it was announced that Vince Russo would interfere. It was announced if Vince Russo would interfere in the match, Flair would get 5 minutes in the ring with Russo. Right, so they built this up through the whole night, where they're like, "Oh, Flair really wants to punch Vince Russo, right? He really wants to beat him up."
Dara, you only need to go through the storyline here. You do not need to go through the match. The match was nothing.
The match was literally It was there because they expected a match. The whole storyline was to get this.
We have already spent too much time on the match.
We're not joking, folks. Literally not joking. Literally, it was that bad.
Even this sentence is currently spending too much time on the match.
And you know what? The fact that they had planted the seeds that the match meant nothing, that it was just this 5 minute in the ring kind of thing. That's what they built up through the whole night. They mentioned it about 3 or 4 times throughout the night. That was what they were building up. Nothing else. The match didn't matter. They could have had a stick in the ring and it would have achieved the same thing. So during the match, a man wearing a Sting mask attacked Flair, which Flair believed to Russo and demanded his 5 minutes. Luger returned in order to force the masked man into the ring, but Russo attacked Luger from behind while the masked man attacked Flair with a miniature Statue of Liberty for some reason.
Yeah, what in the hell?
don't know what that was all about, but that's what he did. Russo demanded the 5 minute start, and the masked man revealed himself to be
Brump.
David Flair.
Mother of Jesus. I genuinely, and I don't think I'm no wrestling expert, but I think I'm taking a fair stab when I say David Flair is the worst wrestler in history.
Look, and that's saying a lot. That's including Garrett Bischoff. That's including you name it. He's just, you know what? He's just fun. It's not even that he's a bad wrestler. That can be worked on.
That's part of it.
It's a huge part of it. But I mean, he fundamentally doesn't understand wrestling. The man doesn't, which is actually unbelievable when your dad is Ric Flair. Right?
Yeah.
He just fundamentally doesn't understand it. He always looks lost. It looks like he's just there, and I don't know. It's so weird to see just someone who doesn't understand wrestling be in wrestling. You know, it's like when Dixie Carter was in TNA. I just get Dixie Carter vibes off him, but not in like an endearing way, in a horrific, annoying way.
It's like all the talent got dumped into Charlotte, and all the blonde got dumped into him.
All of it. It's like, how are you in Charlotte? Now I know they're half siblings, but I'm like, how did Charlotte turn out so well and you turn out so bad? It was like, what happened?
Look, I don't want to start making assumptions in someone's family, but I bet she hates him.
Oh,
I bet she looks down on him like she wouldn't wipe her arse with his socks.
Here's the worst part, though. He held the US Championship and the World Tag Team Championship.
Ah!
So he's actually like held a few titles, and people are upset that Arquette held the world title.
Listen, David he didn't want it.
Yeah, the whole gimmick was he's like, I don't deserve this. He says it. He's like, I don't deserve this. Here, you guys have it. And he's like, oh no, you're going to be in the ring. So it's like that was the whole gimmick. And then 20 years later, he goes and have death matches. It's like, you know what, David Flair, go have some death matches. Redeem yourself.
David Flair, go and have one death match. One honest to God death match.
With Nick Gage and see what happens.
Nick Gage.
Oh, man. I'd pay to see that. I'm sorry. I'd pay a lot of money to see that. I really would.
God, I hate him so much.
Yeah, I hate him so much, yeah. I hate him so much.
I hate anyone. Dara, this is... And listeners of Wrestling Rewind, for some reason, there happens to be a disproportionate amount of you in... Is it Utah?
Yeah, Utah. We got loads of listeners in Utah. It's weird.
A load of you in Utah. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know why you're listening to Parahallions in Ireland, but you are.
We love you.
We do. We really appreciate you. But it's imperative that you know, what is David Flair? Do you consider that a person? Is it an animal? Is it something you eat? Like if you woke up one morning with blood on the sheets and you found a David Flair at the end of the bed, would you drown it in a rain barrel? What is it?
Well, look, this will make you feel better, right? So he did make 2 appearances for WWF during 2002. He was beaten up by The Undertaker on March 4th. And then he wrestled The Undertaker on March 14th as part of the build-up for WrestleMania X8. So that's one good thing. You can watch him get battered by The Undertaker.
Yeah, I bet The Undertaker was stiff.
Oh, yeah, apparently he was, yeah. But, yikes. So terrible. David Flair is terrible. And I was sad that he was on the show. And it made no sense why he was on the show, but he was.
Generational wrestlers are grand. Look, your dad's bloody...
He's not Randy Orton.
Your dad, Bruce Barber, that's grand, right? But, I mean, you still have to be good. That can't be all you coast on.
I mean, like, we're not talking here... we're not talking Cody Rhodes. We're not talking your man, Ted DiBiase.
And I know it took a lot for you to acknowledge Cody Rhodes.
It did. It took an awful lot. I kind of got sick on him a little bit. We're not talking Ted DiBiase Jr. We're literally like someone who does not understand what wrestling is showing up and being a wrestler. It's that poor. He is so incredible. He's the worst thing about WCW, and that is saying
Easily.
a lot. That's saying a lot.
Easily.
That's saying
He's-
a lot.
He's worse than Disco Inferno. He's
Disco Inferno is endearing though. Like, to be fair, I love the fact that Disco Inferno and Ernest the Cat Miller just hang out at catering, and if there's a spot, they run out. I think that's great.
He's worse than Vince Russo. He's
yeah.
worse. He's worse than the Hot Tramps.
I mean, he's been bad consistently when it was good to now when it's bad, and he has maintained that level of shitness throughout. Terrible, man. Just terrible. Well, actually, I don't know if he's a terrible man. Apparently, he's not. But as a wrestler, he's atrocious.
And I like to consider myself someone who can separate the art from the artist. But listen, there's only two options. I look at him and I hate him so much. and with so much venom, that there are only two options. He is either the greatest professional wrestler on earth, and he is working me, brother. Or he is that dirty piece of shit.
Either could be true. I don't know.
I don't know which it is. Look, maybe I'm a huge mark, or maybe he's just scum.
Listen, here's what we do, ladies and gentlemen.
It's up to the people of Utah to decide.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen of the Rewind, make up your decision. Is he a piece of shit, or is he the best wrestler of all time? We don't know. We're going to leave that in your capable hands. Because
David Flair or Martin Hurty, it's up to you.
Man, when he hit him with the Statue of Liberty, I was like, this doesn't even make sense. None of these people are from New York. I don't know why he's hitting them with a statue. They're not in New York. They're literally as far from New York as you could possibly go. It's like
they're actively trying to just confuse and discombobulate you. And so AEW goes to. Okay, sometimes AEW even goes too far to make their stories make sense. So they go too far to make stories make sense, and sometimes the matches, like, kind of, suffer because, like, you'd love to see like a 5-star banger, but the story is that one guy should hammer the other, and you're like, okay, that's fair enough. But this just makes no sense.
Right. Here's the thing. Right now. We will move on to the next match in a second. But here's what they could have done. If the storyline was a jab, it could be a jab at WWE. WWE is in New York. That's what they call it. And, hitting them with Statue of Liberty is saying, well, I don't work for them anymore. But that's so pushing it that you're like, no, I just think they found it and they're like, we'll hit them with it and that'll be it. But the point is, it was bad. It was bad.
Well, look at it. If you wanted to take a jab at the industry leader, like the most successful wrestling organization in the world at the time, would you take a jab by putting the worst person you have in the ring?
It's Vince Russo. It's possible. He could have thought it was the best thing in the world.
Yeah. Do you know what? That is actually a genuinely perfect excuse. In fact, the next time I'm in court and the judge
Vince Russo booked it.
Why did you do that? I go, well, Vince Russo told me. The judge will say, oh, you poor man.
Vince Russo wanted to swerve you, Your Honor, and I think he did.
Whoosh, swerve! I'm mad guilty.
I'm mad guilty. Oh, man. So Sting defeated Vampiro after hitting the Scorpion Death Drop twice. Look, I didn't like Vampiro the first time around when I was younger, like literally a kid. Because I hated. Sorry, what?
A kid, the wrestler.
Well, no, not Billy Kidman. He's up next. No, but when I was like a child watching this, 22 years ago, I was, I hated Vampiro because I'm like, oh, Vampiro sucks. And we'll see why when we cover this period in detail, like what they did to Vampiro and why I thought that. And this match kind of sums it up. Like Sting made him look like an absolute chump. Sting didn't look particularly great either, but it's even better if anyone on this.
I was so bloody excited when this match started because I had watched this dog shit pay-per-view, and Sting is always like, no matter how bad something is, like you can look at WWF in the 80s, the 90s, the noughties, look at WCW, look at ECW, look at AEW. There's always someone you can rely on who's going to put on a good bloody match, and you can always rely on Sting. And at this stage, we're about an hour and a half into this dog shit pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, at least Sting is going to give me something. And this was not a good match. I have memories when I was younger of watching Nitro and Thunder of Vampiro being really good. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't even know what's real anymore.
The show has altered my perception of reality.
Crap. This was so, and the worst part is, and here's what I don't mind, what really gets me at wrestling. A crap match can be crap and it's fine. A crap match can be crap and it's dismissive.
Yeah.
But when you build something, when you really build something up.
Yeah, and they did.
So you could have the same identical crap match. And if you don't build it up, no one will care. And if you do build it up, it'll affect the entire direction of your company. We've seen it with the exploding ring in AEW.
Yeah.
This match was built amazingly.
Yeah.
The Nitro before this match happened, Vampiro hung Sting from the rafters, covered in blood, and literally swung him over the audience while he was dripping blood. This should have been a balls to the wall
barn burner
murder brawl. We should have been watching this thinking someone is going to die, right? And
it was over in 7 minutes.
Yeah, this is exactly what this should have been. So do you know what it was? It was a perfectly serviceable match. It was, in terms of pro wrestling, which is all about build and suspension and and delivery, it was a catastrophe.
Yeah,
it was possibly. Hold on, let me check my notes. It was definitely the worst letdown that didn't involve an actor.
Look, as I said, there's a reason I didn't like Vampiro until I was an adult, because I was able to see his other body of work in Lucha Underground and everything he did down in Mexico. This was just so disappointing. And that's the word. It wasn't bad. It was just disappointing. It was like, it's Sting.
Yeah.
And Vampiro. It should give it work.
At least it had a clean finish. It did. It is the only match in the entire card that had a clean finish where someone didn't run in or someone didn't.
But see, even though Sting was part of the Millionaires Club, he wasn't a heel.
Sting.
He was just Sting.
Sting, part of the Millionaires Club.
Well, it's the same way he's part of the NWO. Well, he's always part of the Wolfpack, but it's just like he was still Sting. It's like you're never gonna boo Sting, ever. Never.
And, like Dara, do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen that Dynamite where Vampiro hangs Sting?
Yes.
That is an amazing visual. That's what WWF was going for when they hung the Boss Man, but without being awful.
Yeah.
It was creepy. It was scary. It was dramatic. It was intense. It was amazing. And it all built up to a fart.
It's the same thing with Randy Orton and Triple H for that WrestleMania match, where they had an incredible build and it was a blood feud, and then they have a wrestling match with rest holds. It's like that's fundamentally you don't do that. If you're going to do this, it's a blood brawl where there's going to be intensifying. But here's the thing: I think they were told. I think I think they were told, do not overshadow the main event. Because, and also Hulk Hogan and Billy Kidman, which is up next.
Then now we're getting to it. Don't overshadow Hogan and Kidman.
Yeah, and I think that was part of it. And then I think also don't overshadow the big cage match.
Hey, Sting, don't do anything cool.
Don't do anything good. Yeah.
Hogan might stumble through a table.
So this match, and I labor to call this thing a match. It's probably the worst Hogan match I've ever seen in my life, ever.
For all Kidman's efforts,
poor Kidman.
Really
poor Kidman. He tried so hard.
And I've read the stories about backstage. Hogan was just not going to give Kidman anything.
He didn't. He gave him nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was nothing he could do. He barely sold. Kidman got some offense in, but not a lot. Hogan battered him basically. And again, I'm making it sound more exciting than it was. Kick, punch, leg drop.
Oh yeah,
kick, punch, leg.
This was 17 minutes long.
It was 13 minutes long, but it felt like 6 years.
It was 40 minutes. Yeah, this was dreadful.
It was.
It was
so bad. Dreadful's the word, and we're not using this as some kind of hyperbole. It's not. It is
WCW.
Yeah, WCW is amazing, but this wasn't. This wasn't. You know what? God. This wasn't WCW, and I think that's the big takeaway from this show. Yeah. This wasn't WCW. This was like a parody, a farce.
Vince Russo's CW.
Yeah, it was. It's horrible because like you compare this to something even a year ago. And you're getting quality matches, and you're getting really, and even when it's bad, it's still entertaining. This was just, terrible.
But you know what? It goes to show the pervasive level of WCW in like the general psyche of people, that nobody on this whole show, and this whole show has been terrible, but we've seen some really good stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody in this whole show is as over as Hogan. No. They are screaming from the rafters. There's actually, if you watch the pay-per-view, there's actually a bit where they go backstage or they cut, but the camera stays on the screen. And Hogan's like dancing around the ring, and everybody's going wild for his name.
Yeah. But same with Nash. When Nash walks out, he's the coolest guy in the whole world.
Yeah, but
who's
booking this?
Well, as I said, they corrupted their show to such an extent that they're burying the youngfellas, and there's no one to get over. Like Kidman should have been over, and he was over. We saw him be over. We saw him put consistently the best work of the shows and carrying that undercard for the better part of 2 years. And then when he gets the shot to go against Hogan, Hogan should have been like, all right, look.
But Dara, this shouldn't be a matter of contention. Like, listen to what I'm about to tell you. The New Blood
for the heels
versus the Millionaires Club. who would you like? Cleanse your mind. If I were to tell you the New Blood versus the Millionaires Club, who would you think are the heels?
I would say the Millionaire Club would be the bad guys.
In the flip.
What are they thinking?
What is?
I mean, it books itself. It books itself. You know, it really does. If they had to just turn the volume up and just let Hulk Hogan be the biggest, you know what, in the world, where he's talking down to these people, saying how much seen it,
fucking asshole.
Exactly, saying how much.
Like they had incredible success with turning Hogan heel. Fuck it, let Sting be a heel. Let Sting come out in a suit and come out like imagine the promos, right? You have Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan screaming at some air hostess. You know, I make more money than you. How dare you talk to me like that? Don't look at me. Blah 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 blah. You would hate them. And then Sting going, I used to hang about in the rafters, and I'm not in the rafters anymore, and I still look down on you.
Exactly. Or, just like, the thing writes itself. It writes itself. And then
Oh my God.
it's warped. It's so warped. It's so
It's just
incredibly warped.
It's just one of the many, many, many reasons why WCW murdered itself.
Yeah. Like, it's a cool idea, but they completely went. When I first heard that, I didn't believe that that's what they were doing, because obviously,
It's so obvious.
It's so obvious, and you think, okay, well, the young guys are gonna, fight for their spot and they're trying to rise up or whatever, and you're like, okay, cool, and it's like, no, the good guys are the millionaires.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? It's
like,
so
hey, we got this. It's like at Survivor Series, we have this team of SS soldiers, and on the other side, we have Holocaust survivors, and the Holocaust survivors are the heels.
Oh,
what?
Yeah, what? It's so warped. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's so warped, man. So warped.
Listen, Dara, me and you are friends, right?
We are, yeah.
But we're having a crack, we're having a chat, but we would also like to provide some kind of like entertaining or informative chat for the 14 people who listen to us. But when it's something this insane, like what do you say? What do you actually say? Because I am here and I have one hand gripping the cork of a bottle of wine till my own fist breaks, and on the other hand, every time you speak, I'm sucking the head out of this Maison Malbec like my life depends on it, because I cannot for the life of me understand what in the mother of God is going on in WCW.
Look, I just can't believe they sat around a table and said, you know what? Let's go with this. There's no way this is gonna look bad. And it's like the opposite of wrestling. Like, think about it, right? Stone Cold Steve Austin got over because he lived the American dream of beating up his a-hole boss. He was the working man's hero, and he still is, because he was the working man's hero. WCW look at that and go, you know what? Vince was right. He's the real hero here. That's what they did. They said, yeah, you know what? The biggest angle of all time is, they were wrong. It was really Vince that was right. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So this train wreck is not done yet, ladies and gentlemen.
No, we still have the men, man.
We still have the men. Like, I love the way this show, it gets overshadowed by this, but really as its own thing, it's wild.
If you think this has been ridiculous up till now,
it just starts. It comes off the track completely.
Get prepared for the triple-tiered cage with the actor.
So, Ready to Rumble was a movie that was made in.
Was it? Is that a rather grandiose term for what it was?
Well, I'm going to use the term that is here on Wikipedia. Ready to Rumble is a 2000 American buddy cop comedy film. Right, so that's what they call it. And basically, in this movie, which I'm sure everyone listening has seen, we probably will review at some point. But
dare we?
Yeah, look, it's not so bad. But it's basically it's all about WCW. David Arquette is him and his mate are big WCW fans who think it's real for some reason. It's not a very flattering portrayal of wrestling. It really isn't.
That's what annoys. There's this mix between kayfabe and give me one or the other. Don't. Do you know what? That's actually one of the things that really annoyed me about the original Spider-Man. It's like either it's a bloody wrestling match or it's not.
Exactly. It's like it can't be like. But it's weird because apparently Bischoff was supposed to be in it, but then he was cancelled at the last moment. So they brought in your man who's in loads of things. But
in Spider-Man?
No, in Ready to Rumble. Also, John Cena's in in Ready to Rumble in the gym. Did you know that?
Now the Macho Man is in Spider-Man, and
This is
prefer
true.
him.
So what? Joe Palioni or whatever his name, the guy who played Cypher. That's how I know him. Yeah, Cypher from the Matrix. That's gas. Wow. Going from the Matrix to the Ready to Rumble. I suppose you got to pay them bills.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice.
Practice. That's it. Yeah. Actually, it's funny when I was working as an extra. Random tangent. When I was working as an extra a couple of years ago, we were shooting Penny Dreadful. And yeah, I was in Penny Dreadful. I was in the first episode. Yeah, I'm in the first episode, and I'm in the entirety of season 3. I'm in season 3, like I'm in pretty much every episode. And because I had a recurring part.
Ladies of Utah, I don't want to upset you, but I think our host might be sexy medieval actor. Well, not medieval, but what would you call it? What was that?
Victorian era, I think. Yeah, Victorian era, 18th century.
Ladies of Utah, I think our host might be a sexy Victorian actor.
Well, I don't want to brag, but kind of a big deal.
Because he's so humble. What with being a sexy Victorian actor and all, but what with you being a shower of Utah whores, you may very well send your emails directly to him, and he shall service you subsequently.
But anyway, as I was saying, when we were shooting it, we were making jokes because we didn't know it was going to be a big show, and because you don't know when you're doing this kind of stuff, because you don't know, you're in a field, right, and you're like in the middle of nowhere, and we're like making jokes because Josh Hartnett was there, and we're like, Josh Hartnett go from Hollywood to somewhere in Kerry, how the mighty have fallen, and that's kind of what I feel like with your man who was in the Matrix, and then he ended up in Ready to Rumble. But anyway, he was playing the Eric Bischoff part. So the movie is what it is, but the big climax of the movie is this triple cage match, which, to my knowledge, I don't think ever actually existed before the movie. I don't think it did. So correct me if I'm wrong. I genuinely don't think it existed beforehand. I think this is the first time.
Far too stupid even for WCW.
Yeah, it's so contrived and makes no sense. And in the movie, it gets away with it because it's a movie, but even still, it's so contrived to get there. So basically, the premise of this is so they took that because David Arquette was in the movie and he became the world champion. So they brought it into reality. So the cages are literally, folks, if you haven't seen this, the cages are stacked on top of each other and each have a roof on top of it. The bottom cage contains a ring and a trapdoor, which leads to the second cage, which contains various weapons, and then a normal cage door to exit. Once outside the second cage, the wrestlers have to scale up on top of it to reach the third. It's so stupid. When you're reading it, it's just so dumb. Reads the much smaller cage. The third cage, which is about the size of a storage closet, has a similar door, contains several guitars, leading to Jeff Jarrett's signature move of breaking the guitar over the top of the opponent's head and hanging from the ceiling just above the roof of the third cage was the championship belt. The objective was the first wrestler to gain possession of the belt, with the winner becoming champion. So basically, you have to get to the top of the cage, get the belt, you're the champion, right? So it's a ladder match with extra steps. And so that's basically it. It's a ladder match with extra steps. And it's the dumbest thing you will ever see. So look, I don't know where you want to go with this, man. Obviously, Jeff Jarrett won.
I'll tell you what, look, we have many avenues for taking the piss out of this match, and there are many terrible things we can say about this match. But I want to say one really good thing about this match.
Go on.
David Arquette is a goddamn hero.
I believe so.
David Arquette was given a shitty position that he didn't want to be in. He threw himself into it wholeheartedly.
He did not have to be there. He genuinely didn't have to be there.
He never tried to make himself out to be the hero. He never tried to. He completely played the role of a gobshite, and he played it magnificently. And not only did he play it magnificently in terms of his character, when it came to taking bumps, David Arquette had no goddamn fear taking bumps. So this was a dreadful match. And David Arquette's entire arc has been dreadful in terms of story, but in terms of the man himself, a big pint of Guinness, a shot of Jameson, and an absolute salute to David Arquette, who deserves far more credit than he gets. And I'll tell you, before anyone says anything, I would encourage everyone watching this now to watch the documentary "You Cannot Kill David Arquette." Amazing, and you'll have an absolute newfound respect for the man. And now I'm going to shut up and let Dara do his thing.
I would back that up 110%. Like, it's also funny because David Arquette Scream is out. The new Scream is out this weekend, so it's kind of funny that
there you go.
It all that kind of bit of a delay in the show kind of helped as well. It's almost like we're professionals.
David, you got me plug money. Thanks.
There you go. That's it. Go see Scream. I haven't seen it yet. I'm looking forward to it.
I think he might be the only. No, it's unfair to say he's the only thing in this match. It's not terrible because when Jeff Jarrett and DDP did a hell of a job.
Yeah.
In a very, very difficult atmosphere to make a decent match. Okay, so it wasn't great when they were in the ring, but whenever they hit the second level, they went hell for leather to make that a really decent match in a really difficult atmosphere.
Like, look, Jarrett is great. He is. Like, the problem with Jeff Jarrett is he didn't really find his groove until he was in TNA, and that's the problem. Like, I think, it's the Cody Rhodes syndrome all over again, or this is the origin of the Cody Rhodes syndrome. So really, it's the Jeff Jarrett syndrome.
Cody alone, can you?
No, I hate him so much. But no, I mean, like, it's the same kind of. This is.
Swear to God, I'm gonna get Cody to come to your birthday.
Oh, that would be so upsetting. Stupid tattoo and everything. Oh,
do it. I'm gonna do it.
If he wears the mask, that would be all right though, because that was a great gimmick.
Except it's gonna be a mask of your face.
Well, at least it wouldn't be Triple H. That'd be more upsetting. But anyway, no, I mean, like,
that's good.
With the Jeff Jarrett thing, it's like he showed up at the worst possible time because the ship was sinking and it was hemorrhaging and he was there as it was going down. And it's unfortunate because he found his groove in TNA because it was stable enough that he was able to actually kind of find himself to be what he actually always believed himself to be, which, like, he wasn't a draw in WCW.
No.
Really wasn't.
But look, he might have been.
He might have been, yeah.
Survived, he might have been because there were several aspects of this match that if they had been like recorded and used in like promotional material and stuff, they were amazing. When Jarrett and DDP went through the side of they threw each other into the cage and the cage burst and the two of them like tumbled out onto the side. That was amazing.
Look, it was a spectacle. I think where this match fell down, it wasn't the lads involved. It was the smosh. It was when Canyon this is where Canyon hurt himself as well.
Yeah, so this is
Canyon actually hurt himself here, and this is one of the reasons that he ended up having issues. Let's examine the match. Yeah,
and then we do the post match because I think they deserve to be. I think they deserve to be examined separately. And again, like I was saying, I think they deserve to be examined separately.
Right. Well, look,
other, big moments.
Well, look, as I said, like I'm gonna let you go through the big moments that you found in a second. But I mean, like, overall, as a match, the match was a mess. But it was handled with a bit more tact and a bit more care and a bit more craft. It would have been a spectacle match. Like, this had the potential, and it did have those, like, for example, Hell in a Cell Mankind Undertaker is a terrible match. It really is. Like, it's not a match. It's 5 spots, right? But it's built up so well.
And to say that.
Yeah, no, well, it genuinely, like, go back and watch it. I defy anybody. Yeah, I defy anybody go to watch it and go watch it like just cold. Go in and watch it after a bad day in work or after going for a 2-mile run or something where you're just not in the mood, and you will see through it. You'll be like, that match is terrible. It is a terrible, terrible match. But didn't matter. The storyline, the spectacle, the impact of it, the uniqueness of it, the fact that it's so historical. And as you said, moments have been clipped and put on.
He's been broken in half.
Exactly. That kind of stuff, right? This had the potential to do the same thing. Because as you said, you could take moments from this, clip it, show forever. It would be an iconic match that lives in infamy. Now it does, and here's the thing: it does live in infamy, but for all the wrong reasons. Because this is the inverse. That's what this is. This is the anti Hell in a Cell match. That's what this is. The anti Hell in a Cell match. A match where on paper it's the exact same thing. It's a big spectacle match that's built up of 4 or 5 spots, and there you go. But instead of using those 4 or 5 spots to tell a story, they do spots for the sake of it, and the story makes no sense, and it falls apart. And that's what kind of happened. So I feel really bad for them because, as you said, the first 5-10 minutes are a bit first 5 minutes. Okay, first 5 minutes are unwatchable. Then they get up on top of the second cage, and it's a little bit better because they have a bit more to do, and they can kind of actually do wrestling. You know, they can actually do some storytelling up there, and they do.
It takes them to get up on the cage
To have
where
a wrestling match.
where the literal floor is chains.
Yeah.
It's mad that it takes them a chain floor to have a goddamn wrestling match because, like you say, the preceding 7 minutes or so where they are in the ring are tedious beyond belief. Because
there's no reason for them to be there's no reason for them to be there because they're just trying. Because there's no reason. Because
they all want to be up in the guitar room where the magic exploding guitars are.
Exactly, and when you have that, it removes all tension because you're like, all right, well, nothing's going to happen until they get up to that second ring or second platform.
Well, it's like a 2 out of 3 falls match. So if someone wins the first fall, I mean, okay, sometimes they do a 2-0 win, but if someone wins the first fall, 9 times out of 10 you've been guaranteed you can take it easy for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It killed all the tension pretty much out of the gate. And as a match, if the ending didn't happen the way it happened, I think they probably would have got away with it.
Well, here's where I disagree with you. I think the match was nonsense, but I think it was meant to be nonsense. And I think if you're going to have nonsense, I think that ending was great. A ridiculous triple cage.
Well, okay.
A Hollywood star beating DDP over the head with a guitar, and then a genuinely amazing stunt from a tremendously unappreciated wrestler.
Well, what I don't understand. Look, what you said there is right, 100%. Not disagreeing, right? What I don't understand, and maybe you can shed some light on it, because I was trying to figure it out. Why did David Arquette turn on Page? Because that's how the match ended. The match ended basically to the whole point. The friendship between DDP and David Arquette was pretty much the only true line through this whole storyline. All right. Oh. And he randomly turns on Page, hits him with the guitar, and then Jeff Jarrett wins. Now, I don't think Jeff Jarrett was in Ready to Rumble. I don't think he was. I think he was still in WWE at the time when it was being filmed. I just don't get it. I don't know why that happened or what. Yeah,
you're wrong.
Like, go on, tell me why.
David Flair never turned on Page.
No. Sorry, David Arquette turned on Page.
Oh, David Arquette.
Yeah, David Arquette. Yeah, that's how the match ended.
Well, you've kind of messed up my bit here, because that whole thing where I was going to do like a big long intro into how David Flair is still a person, even though we disagree with him and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of it, I was going to say he's not a person, he's a subhuman piece of rock. But now that you've told me it's David Arquette and not David Flair, that bit has become useless. So I'm going to say that. In fact, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think of David Arquette. David Arquette was an actor who loved wrestling, and they asked him to be a part of wrestling, and he eagerly agreed. And who bloody wouldn't? And fair play.
But what I'm saying,
hold on, because wrestling wasn't too great at the time. And when wrestling didn't work out for him, when he got rejected from wrestling, because he did become one of the most he loved wrestling, and he became one of the most hated people in wrestling at the time. And what did he do? He didn't piss off and forget about it. He bloody worked his way up through the friggin' indies, and he made this documentary about how much he loved wrestling, and he got murdered by what do you call him in GCW?
Nick Cage.
He got murdered by Nick Cage.
What I'm saying is,
we need whatever. Okay, listen. I know you have a point to make, and I'm going to let you make your point in 12 seconds. Okay, 12 seconds.
All right, go on.
I think whatever valid criticisms we have, I think we need to have a David Arquette Day. I think he deserves it.
I'm not disagreeing. I think David Arquette is great, and he's proven himself to be great and be one of those figures of wrestling that deserves more respect. But what I'm saying is, in this specific instant, in this specific match, this ending, why did David Arquette turn on Paige?
Because Vince Russo told him to.
So that's what I mean. I think it's just that's it.
Yeah,
I think that kills the match.
Yeah, there's no logical reason. There's no
there's no reason. No, I was trying to figure it out.
I didn't see that coming. It's the same. Oh my god, I didn't see that coming, because why would my daughter shoot me? It's
yeah. And look, and that's it. And I think that's the biggest problem, with this whole pay-per-view, as a pay-per-view, logic goes out the window. And if they had again, this match wasn't unsalvageable. This match could have been the Hell in a Cell of WCW. It had all the same elements. It had all the same conditions. It just had some absolute.
I think the reason it wasn't
terrible, right?
I think the reason it wasn't, partly because of Vince Russo.
I think only because of Vince Russo.
Well, partly because I think partly the reason it wasn't was because I think the wrestlers in the company knew that it was over, that this was the end.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
One of my pieces of evidence for this is the incredible Kurt Hennig. So, at the end of this pay-per-view, Canyon gets thrown off the cage and lands on the runway.
Yeah.
And let me say separately, I love the runway that's level with the. Do you like the runway?
I'd hate if WWE did it, but I really like when Impact did it, and I really like it in WCW.
Oh, I love it. I think it's class. I think it offers far more options for hardcore stuff. Like, you can, if you want to throw someone to the ground, you can throw someone to the ground, but also you have this fourth option. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so there was a huge section of the runway that was set aside for where Canyon was supposed to land, and all the wrestlers were instructed not to walk there. Like, if you go back and watch the pay-per-view, they all kind of walk around it. It's on the runway. They all either walk around it or jump over or whatever. And Kurt Hennig, because he is such an absolute master wanker, during his match, he would who did Kurt Hennig fight?
Meat.
Multiple times he grabbed Meat on the runway and held him up as if he was about to slam him directly onto Canyon's crash pad, and then at the last minute he turned around and threw him to the side.
Oh, man.
If we can get nothing else from this awful pay-per-view, we can get the fact that Kurt Hennig was a wonderful person and a wonderful wrestler.
Well, look, the thing about this. Sorry, I went on a Sean Stasiak googling there, and I forgot that Pretty Mean Sisters was a gimmick, and he was the boy toy for that group. And Pretty Mean Sisters had Terry Reynolds, Jacqueline, and Ryan Shamrock. And I'm like, I can't believe this is a thing that happened. But yeah, look, I can't. Look, it says so much that Sean Stasiak was on this show with Kurt Hennig. The whole show, man. Like, I would say, look, folks, if you haven't seen it, I don't know how you listen to a 2-hour podcast about it. Fair play. But if you did see it, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it, because I'd say the whole show is one of those things where, like, it's worth to watch and then compare it to one of the earlier shows, and you really kind of see when people talk about the death of WCW, this kind of sums up a lot of it. It's a lot of the problems. It's the matches make no sense. The booking is insanity. The storylines are the opposite of what you think they'd be. Any opportunity they have to do better, they do the opposite of. As in, like, the Triple Cage match could have been the thing that saved WCW. But I think everyone, as you said, everyone there knew this was the end and this wasn't going to work because there was no belief in it. When I was watching this show, and we watched the show like 3 hours ago. At no point was I like, everyone there believes what they're doing and they're giving the best they can. They can't. Tony Schiavone and poor Mike Tenay is in the back trying to do the best that he can, and he's giving it all, and Tony Schiavone's giving it all. But then you have your man screaming about what did he call them?
It's a bucket of crabs.
Oh man, it's
a bucket of crabs.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And I would say, as we do, because we will pick up the timeline again in the near future, because we're probably gonna reset and go back to maybe early 2000s or 98 or something like that when we do go back to WCW. But this is definitely when it's on the way down, and it is another year or so left. So this was May 7th, 2000. So there's about just over a year left to WCW, and it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better.
It's like when you've fallen out with all your friends, you're so lonely, and you've gotten almost used to loneliness, and you end up doing something so bizarre, so strange, like no actual person would do it, but you end up doing it, and you can't even remember that you actually did it. It's like that.
Yeah. No, it's a last gasp attempt to kind of for relevancy, and it makes all the wrong decisions. But look, I hope you guys have enjoyed this extended edition of the Rewind. It's probably, I think it's our longest show, Martin, that we've done in a while.
We put a lot of bloody effort into it.
We did. We put a lot of effort into it. Next week we're going to look at either the Royal Rumble from 2000 or 2001, depending if Dave's on the show. And then the week after, it's the Royal Rumble. We should be back to normal as soon as I get a new computer, and as soon as Martin gets a new computer after today. Martin, is there anything you want to plug before? Full disclosure, Martin may have killed his computer, so rip.
Full disclosure, I want to plug two things. The first thing I want to plug is Dave. Hashtag
save Dave.
I love Dara. I cherish Dara. I genuinely see him as a muse, but nothing has Dave is my whole reason for being.
That is fair. Hashtag save Dave.
Dave is not here.
He's not here. He should be here.
I reach my final form, and the entire world shall be destroyed.
That is fair. Guys, if you enjoy what we do here, please...
Look. Secondarily, Dara, I had another point.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
We bloody should. But now I can't remember what my second point was. You've made a fool out of me, Dara. You've made a fool out of me.
AEW was great. Watch AEW. Is that okay? That works? There we go. I think that works. Guys, if you like what we do here, please like and subscribe. Check out the True Penny channel, Nerd to Know Media. Phoenix 32.5 FM, and of course, if you want to email us, you can nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com. We will have an email in the new year when I get a new computer. But from Martin, from myself, from Dave, we'll talk to you next week here on the Wrestling Rewind. Bye, guys.
Keep our lad.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.